Welcome everyone to this episode of Palmetto Guardian. Today we receive motivational words from a very special guest. Welcome everyone, I'm Sergeant Chelsea Baker.
And I'm Sergeant Tim Andrews.
And this week is Halloween.
Yes, it is.
And I know that Erskine and I talked about Halloween in the other podcast, but I want to bring it up because it's actually happening this week. So you can tell that whenever Erskine is not here, I get to play with the board. So I have to press the button. So I think it's only natural for Halloween.
You do the Friday the 13th.
I know we could have preloaded that, but I didn't think about that. So
or do like with a Stranger Things theme song.
I don't remember. I've seen it, but I haven't watched it in so long. I don't remember what it sounds like.
Oh, I binged like 3 seasons in 2 days.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Are they 30-minute episodes or an hour?
I don't even remember. Just under an hour,
okay.
Like 49 minutes.
Without commercials and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot. 2 seasons in 2 days? Or did it one? What was it? What did you say?
3 seasons in 2 days.
3 seasons in. Okay.
Well, then everyone in college is like, in like when I was in college, everyone's like, "Have you seen Stranger Things?" I'm like, I don't really care. And then like I stumbled across my brother watching like the 3rd season. I'm like, oh man, that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
It changed my mind about it. I was like, yeah, okay, I watched like the 1st season, and I was like, well, I watched the complete 1st season. I was like, might as well, just hit that button and go to season 2.
I didn't think I was gonna get into it, but I don't know. It's one of those weird things that you just can't stop watching, kind of thing.
It's definitely unique.
Yeah.
But it definitely they go hard in the paint with all the 80s. They'll let you know and not let you forget all the 80s, like the clothes. I wasn't born in the 80s, so I don't know. So
yeah, I know what you mean. It's weird watching shows whenever they're like they create them in today's world, but they set them back in like a different time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it is kind of weird and cool how they do it. But so do you do anything fun for Halloween?
I think we're gonna some friends and we were gonna go to a haunted trail and then carve some pumpkins.
Nice.
So
I don't remember the last time I've carved a pumpkin, to be honest.
It's been a good bit.
Yeah. Every year I'm like, oh, I want to go pumpkin picking, and there's always something going on, drill or training. Last year was the first year since probably my senior year that I've celebrated Halloween. Like it's been a while.
Yeah, my uncle, he goes all out. He'll like his whole backyard. He'll get like the styrofoam boards and styrofoam like blocks. Mm-hmm. You'll find like dumpster diving and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You'll like just take some sandpaper and rough it up and paint over it and stuff like that, and you'll make like tombstones and all these crazy things. Like his backyard is nothing but Halloween. But
that's funny.
He goes all out.
Yeah, there's a couple houses in my neighborhood that are like, I don't know if they're trying to create or make them into like a miniature haunted house or if it's just decorations, but they get super intense. I mean, they put a lot more effort into it than like Christmas. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was pretty cool because, I mean, I've gone to haunted houses and stuff, and there's several places in Charleston that do the haunted hayrides and everything, but I feel like they're not as scary as they used to be.
Definitely go to the one up in Hendersonville.
Where is that? Is that Greenville area?
It's up in North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. I feel like I've heard some other people say that. They say that
we've been there because all my buddies or the people I went to college with, mm-hmm. We'd go there like most of the Halloweens. I didn't go last year because of deployment, but we'd go. It's fun. Just get a group of people, and then you get the new people who've never been. And I usually like to get at the front of the group after going basic training and all that stuff. You're kind of like just numb to like, oh, okay, I'm not scared anymore. Other than the person that just like will out of left field just jump out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But I like to go like, you've got the haunted trail, and they've got all the buildings they set up for different themes and stuff like that. I'll go run ahead of the group, mm-hmm. and then just hide and then just try to scare them. And I do a better job of scaring them than the workers there.
Yeah.
It's really fun. So
it sounds like it. I've always wanted to go to Scarowinds, and every year I never get a chance to go.
What was that at?
It's Carowinds, but you ride at night. Now, I don't know if like they make it spooky or Halloween. Like, I don't know if they go all
Spooky
out.
season.
Yeah, but they call it Scarewinds, and the only thing I know is that you ride the rides at night. But I'm assuming like they probably have haunted something. I don't know. I feel like it takes away from the name if it's just, oh, you get to go ride at night. But I've always wanted to do that. I love Carowinds. I love roller coasters and all that. So I've always wanted to, and I just never been able to go.
What Carowinds has got that wave machine or whatever.
Like the water park?
Yeah, so you get the water park and they've got that machine that makes the waves, and all you do is, that is the funnest thing. Plus, it combats with the heat, so you get to enjoy that. Surrounded by a couple hundred people in there, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it would be fun, something different, but I don't know. I'll have to check out. I want to go do something, but with it being during the week and with work and drill, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to go really actually do anything for Halloween.
Yeah, the stars have not aligned where Halloween is on a Friday or Saturday. When it is, that is like the perfect time. So I guess I don't know if it's gonna be a Thursday. No, it's going to be a Thursday, isn't it?
So maybe next year it'll be Friday.
Hopefully, or else it's just going to go in reverse.
No, don't say that.
No, let's hope not.
Do you guys dress up or anything when you go, or you just hop in the car and take off?
I know, so North Greenville had, they would have, and it's more, granted, it's a Christian university, so they would have the dormitories. They're really great that this dorm right here, they're going to have a theme or they're going to do something interesting. So you have families, more family oriented, that they'd come through with their kids, and they would go by, and it'd be because it is it's not co-ed, male and female. It's gender separated, so then it's males and females can hang out in the dorms, and then you got the kids coming through, and they give them candy and stuff like that. It's really cool, and you got the community that's really embraces the community and gives that presence of North Greenville. But shout out to North Greenville University. But no, they really have the theater major folks that they definitely go out, but it's fun. But dressing up, not really. No. I tried it one time, but
I
in
never
college,
could think of cool costumes. It's always something that's popular at the time, kind of thing. And I'm I want to do something that's different. But then it's that's so much time. It's time consuming and money, and because it's not cheap. If you make your own costume, then you can come out cheaper. But when you go to these stores and you're buying costumes and stuff, they're expensive. It's crazy. I was
talking to my buddy at drill. He was going to he had to go return costumes because his kids are too big for the costumes they picked out. It was for the two of them $80.
Yeah.
It was
nah. You could probably make it cheaper than that.
Yeah, get some paint and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm usually the one who dresses up as something. Maybe one person out of 100 or 200 people are gonna be I know who that is. So and then you're at the age group where I grew up on listening to influenced by my oldest brother. So then I'm oh, cool. I know all this old stuff or stuff that's above my age group. And then I'm around my age group and they're yeah, I don't know who that is. I'm okay. So I get that one person who's yeah, all right. I appreciate what you did there.
Yeah.
But
do you have any costumes growing up that you remember that were your favorite or that were off the wall or anything?
I never did anything that was totally off the. I always like I said, my uncle. He's the one who is he's a freelance artist in Atlanta, Georgia, and he's got his family and all. But he would go all out. He would get these the foam and stuff like that. He would make a foam suit and he'd put paint his face green, and he'd paint the foam thing green, and you'd look like Gumby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Then
that's funny.
He did one time. He did the what's the movie? Where it's Here's Johnny or whatever.
Oh gosh, I'm not good with movie references. You need Erskine. We need a lifeline.
Yeah, we need a lifeline on that one. But he dressed up as The Shining. Yeah, so Jack Nicholson's character, from The Shining, the dad where he breaks in with the axe through the door and all, then the wife's screaming. He dressed up as the guy, as the that character, but he put like cotton balls and he made it like painted them just blue and white. So he like from that scene when he's like frozen to death out in the snow, he's dressed up as that. He's got the sweater, the clothes. He goes all out.
Yeah.
And there's other stuff other costumes and stuff like that I probably don't want to mention.
That's funny.
But other than that, he goes all out. So I can't say I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
One day when I get a wild idea, I'm like, I'm gonna go all out.
Yeah.
Like my aunt, like my uncle built this like what is it? One of the queens, one of the kings over in not queens, yeah, one of the queens over in Europe that was like beheaded is like let him eat cake or something like that and beheaded. To all the historians that probably know. I'm not good with history either. We need John here to.
I know.
But she was like beheaded, so he was able to get like a what is it like when you're doing like the seamstress and all that stuff, you have like the Betty bod. So there's what it's called where you put like clothes on it. You're able to get measurements and you can adjust the size, whether in the waist, the shoulders, or whatever. So he took that apart and he was able to put a dress on top of her that mannequin on top of her shoulders, and then had the dress of like what it looked like a queen. My aunt's a short lady, so she was able to have her head looked like she's holding her head with a mannequin. It was definitely very, like I said, he goes all out.
That's funny. So. I was just in Jersey visiting one of my battle buddies, actually. It was her birthday, so I went to surprise her, and we went to dinner on Sunday. And her uncle does the same. Like, he was talking about how he's like hanging all these lights, and he went and got plywood and he's painting it, and like they're making this scary carnival theme. And I'm like, I don't know. I just didn't grow up with it being that big of a deal. But like you said with your uncle, like he's super into it. Like I think they make their house like a haunted, crazy, I don't know. It's not really a haunted house, but I guess they have like a big Halloween party or whatever, and they have people over, and I guess people coming in and out throughout the day. But I was shocked. I was like, I didn't realize Halloween was that big of a deal to some people. But I thought it was cool, like, to listen to everything that he was talking about and all his plans and ideas and everything. So
it's like my uncle. He was I'm gonna stop talking about that afterward. But he and his wife got married on Halloween.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
So I mean, that just makes it perfect. They get to celebrate their anniversary and go all out.
Yeah, he was able to like he was a knight, and my uncle was a knight, and my aunt was like dressed up as like a princess or whatever. But everyone, it was like this Renaissance medieval theme, and my mom made these like playing cards. So kind of like from, was it Alice in Wonderland, how you had the cards that are marching and all that stuff. So we were able to have like, she made these big foam cards that all you had to do is just stick your head in the card and stuff like that. Stick your head with it through that foam. Yeah. And then you'd have like the card where the king's like looking that way or whatever. It was really cool. Like I said, definitely goes out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Shout out to Doug.
Uncle Doug. So today we have a really special guest. I'm super excited to have him here. I know that a lot of people probably know who he is and have seen him around. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about what he does and give us a little bit of motivational information, I guess, in a sense. But so I guess we're just going to go head over straight to him and hear what he has to say.
All right.
So today we have Sporty King. He is the Yellow Ribbon cadre speaker. So welcome, and thank you for coming today to speak with us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Wait a minute. You scared me there. Let me
I scared
change.
You.
Yeah, let me change one word. I'm word sensitive is one thing you'll find out. I'm not the Yellow Ribbon cadre speaker.
For those of you watching or even listening, I'm sure that a lot of you know who Sporty King is. You've probably heard his voice and seen his face. So we're glad that you're here to talk with us today. So thank you for coming in.
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
So obviously you're basically a motivational speaker. So could you kind of go into your role as far as whenever you come to speak to our Yellow Ribbon events?
Sure. In fact, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that's why I joke when I say you scare me, but I only said it as a joke because they're actually 35 to 40 cadre speakers around the country.
Okay.
And it's a contract with the Department of Defense, where what happens is the Yellow Ribbon programs are going on every weekend in multiple locations around the country. So the meeting planners of each Yellow Ribbon will call into D.C., ask for a speaker to come and support the event, and then D.C. calls and they assign us. So that's how I get to come to South Carolina so much, because I'm in North Carolina.
Okay.
And really one of the things that I've learned, see, South Carolina is very highly respected in the military. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so they have quite a few Yellow Ribbons. And at first I didn't know if that was just a coincidental or what, but then I found out, because of South Carolina's reputation, they tend to get deployed a lot. Mm-hmm. So depending on who you are, that's good or bad.
Exactly. So how did you get into motivational speaking?
At the funny thing, I'm from New York City originally.
Okay.
And my background is I actually started working with the Wall Street Journal as a messenger in New York City. And through 7 promotions, 8 job titles, I got transferred into sales, and then transferred to Washington, D.C., then to Chicago, where I lived for 23 years before moving to Charlotte. And what's important about that is that through all of those transitions, I became a member of Toastmasters International. And in Toastmasters, I met a guy who's a retired Navy. And he's one of the speakers, and he heard me speak. He said, "Man, I really enjoy you. I'm on this Yellow Ribbon program," and it was in 2009, and the Yellow Ribbon started in 2008.
Oh, wow.
So he asked me to be on the contract. And as I backtrack that, what made me even get into the speaking business was one of my natural talents, which a lot of times I like to talk about, not my talents, but in Yellow Ribbons, just talking to people about not taking our talents for granted. Mm-hmm. And mine was poetry. I write real good poetry, and so I would use my poetry to help people stay positive. And now I've kind of flipped that to where not just using the poetry, but using positive words and vocabulary. Again, why I said you scared me. Because there's a big difference between being something and being one of. Mm-hmm. And when we can help people see that correlation, now we can help them really move forward. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I know that I've been to the Yellow Ribbons. You've been to my Yellow Ribbon, and I know Andrews was saying that you were at his just a few months ago. So it's awesome to see you just constantly out there, and your words of wisdom and just everything, your energy that you bring to the room. It's just amazing.
Oh, no. I get a kick out all the acronyms that you'd come up with and all that.
Right, because I always tell people, I say, don't think that the military has the market cornered on acronyms. They check with me, okay? I got a lot. In fact, I even have a book of over 240 acronyms. I call it affirmations, for acronyms that are affirmations, because I don't try to just put a word for each letter. I try to make sure the word has a meaning. For instance, focus, Focus, finding ourselves creates unlimited success. See, so you're telling people when you focus on yourself, you're finding who you are. How important is that on a deployment as well as on a reintegration, to focus on who you are? Faith, Faith, feeling as if there's hope. Recognizing that the only thing you cannot do is give up. So, those are the types of messages that I like to use through my acronyms and affirmations. And the funny thing is, well, not funny, but the wonderful thing is, I actually dedicated the book to the military.
Okay.
Yeah, where I took, and these I don't have off the top of my head, but I took the word veteran and each of the services, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and I made an acronym out of each of those service branches to say how important they are to our country and to our lives.
That is awesome. I didn't know that you did that. I'll have to check that out.
Well, you know what? Oh, my God, I have the book with me.
Oh, man. Yes, I want to see this.
And it's funny because you should always travel, and which takes us back to your other question is about really using what your gifts are. And the reason I decided I wanted to bring it I didn't know we would end up mentioning that, but I'd like to read what the acronyms are for each of the branches because that's one of the wonderful things about the show and why I enjoy being a part of the Yellow Ribbon. Veteran, VETERAN, valued energy toward empowered reaction above the norm. That's what a veteran is. Celebrate your freedom, know why you can. Air Force, allowed introspective reward while facing outside resistance, then caressed empowerment. Army, attracted resiliency, made you safe. Marine, marched anonymously, remembered individually for neutralizing the enemy. And Navy, navigated another victory for you. So if people start to see our military as that way, then they can be more supportive. One of the things I always say at my Yellow Ribbons is there's a high calling on your lives as military families. Because what America asks you to do is just turn your emotions on and off at the drop of a dime or drop of an order. Mm-hmm. And you do it. But how often do you stop and give yourselves credit for it? You know, that's the beauty of it. That's why when I come to my Yellow Ribbons, I'm excited because I'm in the midst of people who are answering a calling, not just to serve. A lot of people say, and I don't knock them, but you say, thank you for your service. And I say, thank you for answering the call because there's a high calling on your life. So I appreciate being in your company and helping those who may not only be struggling, but those who are right on the edge wanting to thrive, but sometimes thinking, maybe I shouldn't do that. And I'm like, no, maybe you should, because that's really who you are, and that's going to make the difference for somebody else.
See? Just motivation all around. I love
it. Now, do you do stuff just for the Army National Guard, or you do other branches as well?
We do all the branches, and even I don't have Coast Guard in this.
Oh, okay. I was gonna bring that up later, but yeah.
Yeah, the Yellow Ribbon does all the branches, and that's another thing. The Yellow Ribbon events are not required to use cadre members. There are obviously more events than there are cadre members. Mm-hmm. So it also goes back to the meeting planner of the specific Yellow Ribbon, how they value the information being disseminated to their service members. And in the case here in South Carolina, Dina Gerholt is the person who coordinates the Yellow Ribbons, and so she likes to make sure, and she gets to pick which sessions that I'm going to talk about. There are over 50 that people can choose from.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so the meeting planner can look and say, well, here's what my people need based on what they're going through. Maybe they're being deployed to a war zone, so let's make sure we get these amount of seminars. Maybe they're just, and not just, but maybe they're going to D.C., you know, they're going to be deployed CONUS, you know, and so it changes according to what she or any meeting planner sees as the need for the service members as well as the family members.
Okay. With that, how does your planning work? Like, do you kind of just go to past seminars that you've done and like, okay, I've talked about this, or is it always something new that you're implementing and talking about with all these different topics?
It's semi-canned. Let me say that there are modules that we have to train from. Mm-hmm. And so the difference that I get to make is I'm not allowed to change the module, the information, but I can change how it's presented. So I can change the pictures in it. I can create my own analogies, even though we do get a script of here's what this module is talking about and here's what you should be saying. And that was my phone, don't worry.
I was like,
yeah, fire alarm going off or something.
Okay, I do. We do get a script, which is perfect because if you're learning it, you want to understand what the information is. But fortunately, what they allow us to do is read the script, understand it, and then we can put it in our own words. So in total answer to the question, it's a combination of new and old, in that I remember, well, this worked when I said this, and this was a great analogy for that, so let me use that again. And then maybe something happens in my life that now I can switch, and I'd rather use that analogy, because it comes now to similar to what both of you have said to me. Oh, yeah, you were at my Yellow Ribbon. You know, the flip side of that coin is, oh, yeah, you were at my Yellow Ribbon. So one time I came down and actually to South Carolina, and the guy comes up to me and said, "Hey, you got some new jokes for us today?" And I'm like, "Uh-oh, I didn't have any new ones. I was going to use the ones I used before." And so, so those are the types of things as a speaker that you have to think about. But what I always remind speakers is don't get so caught up in having a new message that you don't allow people to refresh the message you had. See, the first time you hear me speak, let's be honest, if we look at the yellow ribbons are not overpopulated with people who can't wait to get there. Okay. There's a lot of, oh man, I gotta go to this. Especially on pre-deployment, it's somebody's first deployment, as well as multiple, because sometimes the multiple deployments say, look, I know all of this stuff. That really happens. So, and if they get boring speakers, then that's what feeds into that mindset. So if they can get a speaker and they say, oh, wait a minute, you know what? Oh, wait, I'm enjoying this. Or even if, oh, this information is important to me. It doesn't have to be a great speaker, but the information could be important. That changes their mindset of how they see it the next time they come. So now the next time they come, they're coming in advance saying, I'm going to get something that I need. And so they're perking up at 8 o'clock in the morning rather than 11 o'clock, or 1 o'clock where they they say, oh man, this has been good. And now all of that the preamble stuff is gone. So that's one of the joys of being in the speaking business is wanting your audience to want to hear what you have to say, because then you have a chance to reach them. So, so that second time coming, repeating a joke, repeating something, where now people are like, oh, God, yeah, I remember that joke. And then when you just like, but what was the punchline? Oh, yeah. Or even if they know the punchlines, oh, man, this is going to get them. Wait, so there's a whole lot of different things that are going on that really makes it a lot more fun for me being up there on the stage.
Yeah. How does it, from when you started, since you came in right whenever the program started to now, how have you seen it grow, and how has it benefited the soldiers and airmen and the Marine, like everybody that you've touched and you've got to work with and experience this with? How has it changed from then to now?
It's the beauty of it is, and not simply because we're here in South Carolina, but because we are, I come to this area more often, so I'm familiar, and so from being familiar with working with the meeting planner, being familiar with some of the soldiers in the audience, and even some of the family members, who I keep in touch with on Facebook and stuff like that. That has been a big change, because now people can say, I like when you did this, and now that says to me, okay, I want to make sure I continue to do that. Because wouldn't it be, if we were in a perfect world, that I get somebody on pre-deployment who wasn't crazy about coming to the Yellow Ribbon, but then they learned something, and not just from me, but from the event itself. My part is to be one of the sparks in there. And so now, and that's pre-deployment, then they deploy, and then they come back. To me, wouldn't it be better to have the same person who you enjoyed the first time, now welcome you home?
Oh, yeah, fair point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But sometimes it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Most times, because it's still contract work and it's still government. And so they may say, well, no, we need to assign a new person. But so the growth is in the repeat engagements that I get. And then I'm familiar with working with Gerhardt and this staff. So our timing is different. They handle the rooms for me differently, because we always have a room, somebody's assigned to my room with the handouts. And so we get a nice little feeling going. They know when I want to do such and such, and we actually create a nice little team environment. So that's one of the beauties of working here. Not to say that I don't get that synchronicity everywhere, but the familiarity it breeds. It can also breed I know we tend to hear familiarity breeds contempt, but it's I was trying to think of a nice word with C. Congeniality. I don't know. Communication.
There you go. No?
Yeah. No, I've been listening the whole time. So.
Yeah,
No, I was gonna say, because when we came back from deployment, and I was like, okay, we're listening to what you had to say, and first time, like you said, it's like, okay, all right, yeah, the whole thing of like, okay, just got to do this, just go here this weekend,
check the box,
check the box, and getting closer to deployment. Then coming back, it's like coming back at it with more of a optimistic viewpoint. Is like, oh well, I wish I remembered what you said earlier about like, okay, how to handle a situation, or be like with one of your acronyms, dealing with a situation. Like, yeah, probably you might have been onto something right there, and then coming back, it's like, I got you right there. That I totally understand what you're talking about when you're bringing up a situation and like, okay, maybe how to handle it a certain way, or bringing light to a certain situation.
And see, and now that's where I jump in and make sure that you take credit for that, not me, because I'm the messenger. If I can deliver a good message, if you choose not to listen to it, and then more importantly, you choose not to act upon it, that's on you. So I definitely would, turn that table and say, oh, great, thank you for saying that you listen, but thank you for doing something about it, because you took it personally, and whatever analogy I gave made sense, but then you had to really apply it to your life, and then that made it even better for you, your family, your circle of friends, your battle buddies. It really pours out into a lot, because now you'll say, somebody will say, oh man, we got to go. No, you know what? You want to go. This is going to happen. And now that makes a difference. So thank you for putting yourself in that spot and having that receptivity, because that's what leaders have to have. Leaders have to receive so that they can pass out. Not pass out as in,
Pass on along the information.
See, we're getting that word sensitivity. It makes a difference.
So how, like, whenever you're coming up with these acronyms and all that, like, is it just something that comes to you, or is it something where you're sitting there and you're like, what would be a good, like, analogy for this word, or what can I use for that? Like, how does that process work for you? Because it seems like it would just be so natural for you, but sometimes that might not be the case.
Yeah.
It actually is very natural for me. I've learned to accept that. It's my gift from God, and God, God, granting our destiny. And so, as you start recognizing, because I'll hear people say something, and my mind is just creative. I'm always thinking about being creative, and one way I say I'm a rebel. I want to see things change. I'm an older person who loves change. You got a lot of people older who say, they want things to stay the way they are. No, when you were young, your job was to change things. Now, why are you upset about the younger generation making changes? That's what you used to do as well. So I stay there. I guess it's the Peter Pan syndrome too, staying ever young and really wanting things to change. But more importantly, to keep finding ways to get the point across, and speaking, it's being trilingual, trying to have the language of everybody in your circle can make a difference. And so if that acronym helps you learn the message, I got to come up with that. That's my job. That's my piece of the puzzle. Now you decide to take that and use it. Bam. Now that's your piece of the puzzle. You take it and use it. Bam. And see, so that it becomes one of those just kind of a, just everybody doing what they do and enjoying it. And then when you say to me, oh, I like that. Now, see, a lot of times what we do is we try to catch people doing something wrong. What we need to do is catch people doing something right. So you tell me that you like something I do, I remember that, and I try to do that again. And I say but I'm talking about anybody. Think about children. We spend so much time sometimes, and I'm not knocking parents because I think it's the hardest job in the world, but I want our parents to start to remember, keep complimenting your children. Tell them what they do right. if you keep telling them what they do wrong, if you tell me what I'm doing wrong, I'm going to focus on not doing that again so hard that I'm giving that power. Whereas if you tell me what I did right, I can keep focusing. Wow, I did that right. I got complimented, because all of us really want to be complimented. We get that shot of dopamine in our brains that really, peps us up. It's, oh man, yeah. When I do that right, people, I get my props. I get shout outs. And so we look forward to that. And now we'll find ways to get to that spot again. It's a long process, and nobody stops to overthink it. But just try, that's why I try to find, I try to say control your vocabulary. Don't allow your vocabulary to control you. So find the positive things that you can say. And my last piece on that, I hope this has all made one cohesive thought, but is I like to say I don't practice what I preach what I practice. So as I hear myself telling you to be positive, I don't get to have this energy. Then when we're done, take these off, walk off, and then I'm around being Mr. Mope and pissing people off. I have to hear what I said, and sometimes I'll say, oh man, that was good. I'll use that again. And so and then it just regenerates. And when you get used to accepting who you are, which is really part of the goal too, then you be you a lot more. And you're always going to have someone who doesn't want you to be that way. That goes back to the focus. Finding ourselves creates unlimited success. Focus on you and let other people come into focus. Because once you decide who you are and what you want to be, what you're going to do, somebody's going to see, say, no, you shouldn't. Once you decide to do this podcast, you know what, that's really not going to work. People don't really listen to podcasts. But you had to say, no, this is what we're going to do. Then after the first one, how many likes did you get in? Well, we didn't get any likes, You said, no, but this is a vision, and I've got to keep doing this because it's working for somebody. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you're somebody.
So where do you draw your inspiration from, or how to put this the right way, like where you give like a philosophical or psychological examples? Where would you draw your inspiration from?
It's a combination. It's a combination of spiritual as well as religious. Mm-hmm. And spiritual, religious, inspirational. I don't just do one. And in fact, in January, I got certified to be a certified stress mastery educator. So information, that's what the dopamine thing comes from, is from me understanding how our brain reacts to stress. And see, so now I can find a way to weave that in because it's something I believe in. And that's what it comes down to, is what do I really believe in? It's just like, what you said about, coming back to and when I complimented you about, but you took the message and used it. See, that gives me inspiration. Okay, where did I come from when I said that and he liked it? And so, I might put a little bit more energy into that. One of the jokes in the speaking business is, like, a lot of times people, I'm not rich monetarily, but in the speaking business, sometimes one of the reasons people don't get speaking engagements, people say, well, you're too expensive. And they'll say, they pay, and then they'll say, they pay you all of that to be a speaker. And one thing I've learned, and I tell the people, I said, I don't get paid to speak. I get paid to prepare to speak. And see, so whereas someone thinks that they're, and I say that to support any speakers out there. If someone's thinking about, I can't afford that speaker, I'm not going to pay them all that money just to talk for 30 minutes or an hour. You're not paying them to talk. You're paying them to prepare to talk. Because the moment you tell me that I'm assigned to this engagement, I start on that engagement. So it goes down from, and let me try to sound impressive and say $25,000. $25,000 an hour. The moment you tell me I'm on the books, that 25 starts to diminish, because after 2 hours of me getting that engagement, I've been thinking about it. So now it's $12.50 an hour, $12,500. Then, 5 more hours is down to $5,000 an hour. And so by the time that person gets on the stage, it may be, close to minimum wage, because you're always thinking about what you're going to deliver. And so again, that's where the inspiration is going to come from, because I'm all of these things that are happening in my life, I become more aware because of what I have to deliver. So I may pick up a new spiritual message. I may pick up a new religious message. I may pick up something new in science, and so, all of that becomes a part of the deal.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whenever you're going to speak at an event, do you have any kind of rituals that you do beforehand or any prep that you do?
I do, and mine is prayer. I just ask that I deliver the message that I was brought to deliver. And then also, one of the things I do before, when I get an assignment, I don't just say, okay, good, it's on the books. I actually send the meeting planner a questionnaire saying, okay, where was the deployment? Was it a tough deployment? Was it a war zone? Are there any issues that these people may be having? How did the family feel about it? So if I've got all of that information, it changes what my prayer is going to be of how, who I know I need to reach. One of the things I do not do is I'm not one of those speakers that I need to be away from people. Some people, they want to sit and get themselves together. I want to be interacting all the way up until the time I'm on stage. Because that's what gets my energy going. And the conversation we had at breakfast may end up being on stage because I could pick up something new. And so that's kind of my little mode of operation. And then the funny thing that I do also is I don't sleep. I rest, especially if, I'm staying in hotels, and I got to get up in the morning to deliver. I can't really sleep.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm anxious. Mm-hmm. So I just make sure that I'm conscious of the fact that I'm just resting. And when my engagement is over, when my yellow ribbon week is over, I crash. Yeah.
So where would you say, so you've been doing this for 10 years?
It's 9.
Oh, 9 years. Okay, gotcha.
Wait, let's do the math. 2011, well, I guess we got to say 8.
Yeah. Oh, when it all started?
Yeah, I didn't start in 2008.
Yeah,
I started in 2011.
Oh, 2011, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you didn't miss them. You got it right. It started in 2008. My friend told me in 2009. We got on the contract. Gotcha. In October 2010, and then my first yellow ribbon was January 2011.
Okay, so where do you see where do you see yourself in the next 5 years doing yellow ribbon, or the next 5 years? Where do you see yourself doing yellow ribbon, speaking events, stuff like that? Where do you see yourself?
Well, I would definitely want to stay with the yellow ribbon as long as it's around, because the key consistency makes a difference. And like you say, if I've got people who are looking forward to coming, if rather to hear my part, because and again, let me just put that caveat. I love that they want to hear my part, but my part feeds into the others. So I'm not saying that they just want to hear me and then close off. My job is to open you up and recognize that you've got other information that you've got to get. I always joke and say to them, make sure you go to all the resource tables and don't treat it like you're at the state fair. At the state fair, you try to stay 2 feet away and not make eye contact. No, I've got cable already. No, go up to every table, find out what the new benefits are that you have, or find out that you already know all of that information. Because confirmation is going to make your family safe as well. So go to every single table and find out what's going on, because like I say, the government giveth and the government taketh away.
Yeah.
So go, find out, because all of the people at the resource tables, the community partners, they're there on a voluntary basis. It may be their job, but they choose which yellow ribbons they get to go to, and they really have a heart for the military, and they're there wanting to give this information to help people. And so it's important to go to them and get that information. So I want to be one of the people that pushes people toward the table. I want to be the person that makes people look forward to coming to Yellow Ribbons. I'm trying to expand my business outside, where I'm not just doing Yellow Ribbons, of course. But again, even in doing that, that's going to make me more valuable to the Yellow Ribbon, because as my celebrity starts to grow, well, now that can be something that helps somebody on a first-time basis and say, well, you know what, I don't want to go to your, but whoa, I've heard of this, whoa, Oprah's coming, that kind of, that changes how, people feel. So, so it's always just a combination. But it's so funny because that sounds like one of the, and so where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I love that question because one of the things that we talk about in Yellow Ribbon, is goal setting, and you have to have short-term and long-term goals. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? How about where do you see yourself in 5 days? Because you can't get to that 5-year period without the 5 days. And where do you see yourself in 5 months? Because maybe your deployment is 6. Mm-hmm. So, it's constantly finding ways to take questions and recognize that every single question is a good question and it actually connects. It's just like when people say, oh, well, when so-and-so was speaking, why are you on your cell phone not paying attention? I tell them, I say, no. When I'm speaking and I see people out there on their cell phone, I figure they're saying, oh, man, this guy is knocking it out of the park. You should be here. You just have to keep finding ways to bring your energy up. And so I see myself just constantly feeding off of this gift that God has given me to be able to stand in front of people and deliver a message that they need. And more importantly, that they want. It has to have that combination of need and want. So if I get to be the deliverer, then I've done my job. I'm asking you, as service member to serve your country. Well, then why wouldn't I do my job and serve you? And that's the way I have to see every single audience that I have, and just appreciate being able to be a part of that, and being a conduit to that growth that we all need to have as well.
Sounds like you're meant for this job.
It does, doesn't it?
You were born for this.
You start to get and see, and that becomes once you start to do what you do, wow, and now that takes all those questions you ask, where does the inspiration come from? What got you into this? Once you start to see how these parts all come together, it becomes what we call a natural. But natural, you don't know where natural started. I always say that your testimony doesn't begin when you were born. Your testimony began when you recognized who you are. And because that's when you start to go back and see, oh, wait, that's why that happened. Okay, well, what am I going to do next? And now you can just have fun doing it. Mm-hmm. And so that's pretty much what I do.
Well, you do a great job at it, I can tell you that.
and let me just, I want to, as long as we're talking about great jobs, mm-hmm. I want to say you guys have been doing an excellent job. As a speaker, by the way, I'm one of the worst audience members you can have.
Yeah, because you're constantly because that's how it is with us with taking photos and video. Like when you're watching movies or you see a picture, the technical things of it, and so you want to pick it apart. So it is hard to sit there whenever you're the audience for what you do, because you're nitpicking at every little thing. So. And
I have not nitpicked a thing. I love what you guys do.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I really love the conversational tone that you have. Mm-hmm. Insightful questions. You help. I think you really helped your interviewees come up with good humor and that blend of humor and factual stuff. So yeah, I sat and watched a couple. I said, oh man, I love what they're doing, and so that's why I contacted you.
I know we say it all the time, you guys, that this platform is for you, and we are here for you guys. So living proof that contact us and we will get you on the show.
I'll pay you later. The way my banking account works.
Well, just to end on a good note, is there any anything that you would like to motivation or words of wisdom type thing that you would like to leave with everybody listening and watching today?
Just always a reminder that this interview may have been with me, but it's not about me. And so, just keep reminding yourself that it is about you. See, I think that life is about going from one puzzle to the next. You're either a small, medium, or large piece of every puzzle in your family, social, or business interactions. But no matter what puzzle piece size you see yourself as, without you, the puzzle is incomplete. So if you see your puzzle, recognize that you are the nucleus of your puzzle. Now think about it. If you're the nucleus of your puzzle, if you're the middle piece of the puzzle, what do you have to have? Patience. Because we start a puzzle by creating the outside, and we work toward the middle. So if we can be patient and calm with ourselves as we start to build our lives, because sometimes the life has to build from the outside in, and then there's some parts where we get a good chunk in the middle, and we build out. So just be patient with yourself and recognize that what you're doing makes a difference. You won't always get the conscious thank yous, but if you know that you're delivering what you should deliver, then you can walk away with that good feeling in your heart. And I think that that's what I get a chance to do at Yellow Ribbons, and I see people who give me the chance to do it based on how they react. And so that's why I said we keep in touch, and I welcome people to keep in touch with me on Facebook. I like to call it Fussbook, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
But you keep in touch with me on Facebook. My website is sportyking.com. And so anything that I can do to keep people inspired and again, get that double-edged sword and have them inspire me to pass that along, I welcome that. Look forward to it.
All right. Well, Sporty, thank you so much again for coming in and talking with us today. We really enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll have you back sometime soon, and we get to sit down and talk about something else.
Okay, and it'll be, Sporty's coming.
No, it won't.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Thank you, sir.
So I'm glad Sporty King was able to come in and talk with us. He had a lot of good information for us.
Yeah, he's always fun to be around in a crowd, or to talk to him at least. He's definitely got a lot of enthusiasm and optimism.
Yes.
He's got a unique way of looking at things in life to get through a situation, or like, I didn't even think about that. Like to handle a situation better.
Yeah, exactly. You know how there's always like those one or two people that that no matter what, if you're having a bad day and you're around them and their energy that just instantly changes your mood. I feel like anytime around Sporty King or when I see him at a Yellow Ribbon, like just instantly my mood is just so much better because of just how much enthusiasm and positivity that he has, and just his energy just carries throughout the room.
His charisma, his name definitely carries an energy with it. Like when you like you got that grin on your face, he's gonna say something funny, or he's always got that good attitude. I admire that about him.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy how he comes up with his acronyms. Like, how some people are just born like songwriters and like people who make movies, like just people who are creative. It's just crazy how he can take just one word and just come up with an acronym, and it just works. And it just makes sense.
You should definitely work for the military making all these acronyms.
I know. We need some help with our social media. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm glad that he came in, and I know he's a familiar face because he's always at all the Yellow Ribbons. And I think he's been at some other events that we've had too and spoke as a guest speaker. But it was good to have him in here. Hopefully we'll get to have him again. I'm sure that we can have him come in and talk about something else.
Yeah. Then and you'll probably see him at your Yellow Ribbon event.
I know. I remember I deployed it was 2013 when we did our Yellow Ribbon, but we deployed in 14. So, I mean, it feels like it wasn't that long ago, but when you put a time on it, it's like, and then you, of course, going to all these Yellow Ribbon events when we go to cover them for public affairs.
Oh, you guys do?
Yeah. So
okay.
You haven't experienced that yet. So because I think we've had a lot of units deploy before you started working, but when they come back, like typically we'll go, we'll take photos. Sometimes we don't really take video. It's mainly just photos. but we'll go out and cover those. So maybe that's something that you'll get to experience when the units start coming back, and then you can hang out with Sporty again.
Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, that and acronyms beat him to his punchlines
Yeah,
and stuff
exactly.
like that.
Be like, I have a joke for you.
Yeah, I started noticing. I was like listening to comedians and stuff like that. I'm like, wait, I know that joke.
Yeah, he's not a comedian, but he's funny. Like he has he's good with telling jokes. He's good with giving motivational speaking and information and just making you feel good about just life, I guess.
Mm. He definitely has that. Like I said, he definitely has that energy that just like manifests itself whenever he walks into the room. He definitely you'll definitely turn smiles on people's faces.
Yeah. But so hopefully, like I said again, that we'll get to see him, have him come in and talk to us later on in the future about other topics. But something that we are trying to start, I guess, is telling you guys to make sure that you like and subscribe. We know that you're watching, but please subscribe to the channel so that way you can be updated whenever we post new podcasts. And not just podcasts, we post other things. We've been a little bit slower with all the units deployed, so we haven't had as much we haven't produced as much products other than the podcast, but definitely keep an eye out so that you can be updated on the latest information. We're still working on those 500 subscribers, so we were doing pretty good. Like once we started the podcast, we were getting a lot at a time, and now it's kind of like slowly inching up. So I'm telling you guys, 500 subscribers and you're going to get a bloopers video, and we got some good bloopers. So
well, we only need we've got 348 right now.
I think we got 349.
Okay, hey, there we go.
So we're up another one.
So we're not that far.
No, not at all.
And we definitely got a lot of bloopers and a lot of stuff cut out that we can't put on.
Well, not all of it, but I mean, definitely want to do that video for you guys. So make sure that you're liking, you're subscribing, you're sharing all these information with your friends and your family and your other soldiers, airmen, everybody out there in the state of South Carolina, because like we've said before, this isn't just for the South Carolina National Guard. This is for the whole state, and we want to make sure that we're putting out the information that you guys want to hear. And also make sure you're leaving us comments. We've had several people leave us comments. If there's topics that you want us to talk about, if there's somebody that you want to come in and speak, or just to tell us that we're doing a good job. I mean, we like hearing that too. So
yeah, definitely boost morale.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I'm Sergeant Chelsea Baker.
And I'm Sergeant Tim Andrews.
And we'll catch you in the next episode.